DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. There was, probably by the time you're seeing this, a couple weeks will have gone by, but the San Francisco 49ers had this defensive back named Richard Sherman, and he had gotten injured a couple years ago. He's a defensive back in the NFL, got injured a couple years ago. He was a free agent. He didn't have a contract, so he negotiated his own deal with the San Francisco 49ers. They might still be playing by the time you see this in the playoffs. And the deal had a lot of incentives in it. In other words, he had a base salary that was guaranteed, but then he could make a lot more money, like 50% more money, if he hit these incentives. It's basically like working on commission. He had a base, but then he could get more money based on his performance during the season. And when he signed the contract, a bunch of people were saying, like analysts were saying, that was a bad contract. And the thing is, he negotiated the deal without an agent. That was the thing. He did it on his own because he's like, why do I need an agent? I could just negotiate myself and keep all the money. So he did the deal without an agent, negotiated his own contract, which I did multiple times when I was playing ball overseas, but his was for more money. And people were saying it's a bad deal. He plays the whole season. He hits all his incentives. So he made like $4 million extra dollars. So he got all this extra money. He got to keep all the money. None of it went to his agent. And of course, Richard Sherman, this is the thing nowadays, not just for him, but anybody. He succeeded publicly and everybody knows who he is. So he got to do his social media victory lap. Everybody was tweeting about how he had these incentives and he hit all his terms of his contract and he's getting all this money and he did it without an agent. So then he was retweeting. Excuse me. It's cold in Miami today. I've been sneezing. So anyway, he was retweeting all the people who had said he was wrong for signing that deal and laughing at them. And of course, all his followers were baited into bombing those people's timelines and saying, you dummy, asshole, bitch. You shouldn't have hated on him, whatever. And here's the thing. He came out, of course, at the end of the day, and he says all the normal things that people say when they succeed in life. You know, I believed in myself. I didn't let anybody tell me no. I bet on myself. You know, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong. All you gotta do is believe in yourself and work hard and you'll be successful, of course. Now, there's nothing wrong with what he said. There's nothing inaccurate about what he said, but he didn't tell everybody the whole story. I'm gonna tell you the rest of that story. Specifically the part about betting on yourself, because people like to use this phrase, I bet on myself, when they succeed in life. And I talked about this on my Instagram like a day or two after Richard Sherman had said this. If you follow me on IG, it's at Dre Baldwin. You probably saw this video, but I'm going a little bit more depth here. It's like this. In life, when you are successful, if you're doing something that's significant, something that a lot of people won't be able to do, yes, you absolutely will have to bet on yourself. In other words, you're going to have to take some form of risk. You got to risk your time, your effort, your energy, your money to try to make it somewhere that most people don't make it. To become a professional athlete, you got to bet on yourself because you got to put a whole lot of time in, a lot of years in, right? Trying to make it, and you might make it and you might not make it. That's just part of the game. To play any sport, to start a business and be successful in that business, you have to bet on yourself. There's a lot of things in life. Again, if there's a big reward, you got to bet on yourself. To become a musical artist, you got to bet on yourself. A rapper, a singer, country music, whatever. There's a bet you got to place. And when people make it in those areas, they like to tell everybody, hey, I bet on myself and all you got to do is the same thing and you can be successful. The part that they're leaving out is that they're not the first person to bet on themselves, and nor will they be the last person to bet on themselves. That's half of it. The other half that they're leaving out is that not everybody who bets on themselves wins the bet. I don't know if you have ever been to Las Vegas, to the casinos, or wherever they got casinos. There's casinos in a lot of places now. In South Florida, we got the Hard Rock, and there's a bunch of casinos all around. Atlantic City, Connecticut. If you ever been to a casino and gambled at all, I don't care if you paid a penny slot or you were playing $10,000 a hand blackjack, you understand that just because you bet doesn't mean you're going to win. And just because you bet on yourself doesn't mean you're going to win. There are a lot of athletes who have negotiated their own contracts that had a whole lot of incentives, and then they didn't perform up to the incentives and didn't get any of the money. There are a lot of people who bet on themselves to become a rapper or a singer or an actor or an actress or an NBA player or an NFL player or a social media influencer, put a lot of time, effort, even money into it, and they didn't make it. And then they stopped trying. They didn't make it. They didn't get there. So not everybody who bets on themselves wins. The thing is, the only time we hear about somebody betting on themselves is when they win. A few years ago, this is an NBA player. Some of y'all might know about this guy named Nerlens Noel. He used to play for the Sixers, my hometown team. And he ended up on the Dallas Mavericks. And when he went to Dallas, they offered him a contract. It was like a 4-year contract for like $80 million, which is, I mean, it's not the best contract you could possibly get, but that was a pretty good contract considering that Nerlens, he hadn't been like an all-star yet. They was offering him a damn good deal. It was a lot of money. It was like $20 million a year. He turned it down because he believed he could get a bigger contract after the season. He felt like he was going to play that season, play really well, and get a better deal in the offseason. What happened though was he fell out of the rotation in Dallas, wasn't getting a lot of playing time, and at the end of that season, he didn't get offered a bigger deal. He actually signed a much smaller deal, and I believe that deal was what took him to Oklahoma City, and as of this recording, he's still playing for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, he's not a bum. He's still in the NBA. He's still getting paid over $1 million a year to play basketball, but it's not the contract that he bet on himself to get, and it's damn sure not the one that he passed up. Now, at the same time, Philadelphia 76ers, they got a guy named Tobias Harris. He got offered a contract a year or two ago, turned the contract down, got traded a couple times, ended up on the Sixers. The Sixers gave him a bigger contract than the one that he turned down. So he bet on himself and he won. So now you can tell the story. Tobias Harris bet on himself, he succeeded, he got all this money. But what about the guy who bet on himself and didn't succeed? People don't even talk about the Nerlens Noel that won that much. Or whatever other NFL player negotiated their own contract that had a lot of incentives in it and they didn't hit the incentives, didn't get the money, maybe be out of the NFL by now. They bet on themselves too. So what I want you to understand is not that you shouldn't bet on yourself, because shit, I had to bet on myself to become a pro athlete. Of course you got to bet on yourself. I had to bet on myself anytime I sit down and invest months of my time into writing a book, hoping that the book comes out good and people buy it and that people read it and like the book. Those are all bets that you have to make on yourself. Some are smaller, some are bigger. But just because you bet on yourself does not guarantee that you're going to be successful. Understand that the key to being successful sorry, I keep having to wipe my nose, but it's fucking cold out here. But the key to success when you bet on yourself is you got to win the bet. So it's not just placing the bet. You got to win the bet. How am I going to make this bet actually work? How do I turn this into a success? Now, I have answered that as well. I did an episode of the Work on Your Game audio show, which some of y'all might call a podcast, but I don't call it a podcast. I call it a show. It's a master class. This is episode number 931. The topic is how to bet on yourself and win. The way you get access to that is right down in the video description. There's a link to the game group membership. The first 2 weeks are free, so you can listen to all the master classes you want for free. You do not have to keep the membership. It does not cost you anything. If you want to keep it, you can pay, but if you don't, you can just take it, get all the master classes that you want, access them, listen to them, download them. Well, you can't download them. Access them, listen to them, take notes on them, memorize them, and then you can keep the membership if you want. You think it's good enough, you think it's not good enough for you, or for your needs at this time, you can cancel it. We'll email you or let you know when the charge is coming up, so we ain't gonna charge you by you won't know that it's coming or nothing like that. So that's how you find out how to actually bet on yourself and win. But what you need to understand is that in life, betting on yourself does not guarantee success, as opposed to what people tell you. People bet on themselves, win, and then they're like, I bet on myself, that's why I became successful. No, that's bullshit. You became successful because you bet on yourself and you won. All right, nobody talks about the guys who bet on themselves and lost, because we don't want to hear the stories of the losers, right? Who wants to hear from a loser? Who wants to hear from somebody who bet on themselves and failed? Nobody. Nobody asked them any questions, but there are a whole bunch of them out there. So you need to learn not only from the people who succeeded, because they was the only ones that get touted in the media, but also the people who didn't, because they only giving you half the story. People who won only giving you half the story, the part that sounds good. All right, but what about the part that doesn't? Because that can happen to anybody too. Work on your game. Dre all day.